So how well does a $400 camera setup stack up to a $2,000 camera setup? Here I have the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 and I have the Sony A7IV, and we're going to show you some footage side by side and see if you can guess which one is which.
What's going on, guys? Today we are in the financial with two separate rigs.
So looking at that footage, you can probably guess which camera is which. Obviously, in terms of image quality, the A7IV is going to beat the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. But are there certain scenarios where you would actually take the Ace Pro 2 over the A7IV? Today, we're going to talk about that. So this video is sponsored by Insta360, so thank you so much for that. But like every other video I make, I do prefer to be as unbiased as possible, so I'm going to be giving you the pros and cons of using both the Ace Pro 2 and a mirrorless camera setup like the A7IV. So let's quickly talk about some of the specs. So the Ace Pro 2 has an 8K sensor for video, and it shoots 50 megapixel photos that does both JPEG and RAW. For the A7IV, it shoots 4K for video, which is downsampled from 7K, and it does 33 megapixel photos. Now obviously the image quality is going to be different. Even though this shoots 8K and does 50 megapixel photos, the image quality is not going to be as good as the A7IV because of the image sensor. So the A7IV has a much bigger sensor. Obviously it is a full frame camera, while the Ace Pro 2 is still just an action camera. So while the Ace Pro 2 does shoot 8K and 50 megapixel photos and does make that look really good for an action camera, it's still not going to beat the image quality out of the A7IV. In terms of picture profiles, the Sony A7IV has a bunch of profiles. The most common one is S-Log3, which a lot of people use to maximize dynamic range and color grading abilities. With the Ace Pro 2, Insta360 actually collabed with Leica, so they have the Leica lens in front, and they also have Leica profiles that makes the footage out of the Ace Pro 2 look pretty good straight out of camera. Obviously, you're not going to get the flexibility that you're going to get with S-Log3, so if you do have the knowledge and the time to color grade S-Log3 properly, the A7IV is going to win with color. But if you're looking for something just straight out of camera, the Ace Pro 2 is going to have those Leica profiles, which are pretty nice. Now we all know the A7IV, because of its full frame sensor, it is going to be pretty good in low light, but the Ace Pro 2 actually has dual AI chips for low light and image quality. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So obviously, because of the bigger sensor, the A7IV is able to take advantage of low light and be able to get a cleaner image. In S-Log3, it also has a dual base ISO of 3200, so in low light, you're going to get pretty good clean footage. However, the Ace Pro 2, like I mentioned, has the advantage of using AI chips, and this is the tricky part. Because of the AI chips, you're actually able to get footage in almost pitch darkness. So I did a car shoot a little while ago, and I mounted the Ace Pro 2 to my chest as a BTS camera, and in this clip, it's pretty much pitch dark. The only thing lighting up the scene is the headlights from some of the other cars, but because of the AI chips, you're actually able to still see what's going on. Where with the A7IV, even at 3200 ISO, it was pitch dark. We actually ended up having to use an A7III, which could bump the ISO all the way up to 12,800, which is a lot higher than 3200, to be able to actually see in the pitch dark. Now that doesn't mean that the Ace Pro 2 wins though, because even though you have the AI chips, as you can tell from the footage, even though you are able to see in the dark with the Ace Pro 2, because it is using AI, it's not going to be perfect. You are going to get some muddiness, it's not going to be as sharp, but you're actually still able to get an image where with an A7IV you might not be able to. With the A7IV being a mirrorless camera with a full frame sensor, you obviously have the ability to also switch out lenses. So I believe with the Ace Pro 2, with this lens, it's about a 13mm, and with the A7IV, right now I have a 17mm, but obviously if I want to, I can switch it out to my 10mm, I can put a 24-70, 70-200, whatever I want on it. And because of the bigger sensor, you're also going to actually have more shallow depth of field, so if you want to get those nice blurry backgrounds, you're going to be able to get that with this camera. Now obviously, I think for image quality, it's not really a comparison. If you're actually just looking at image quality, the A7IV is going to win pretty much every single time, except for some certain low light situations. But I think where the Ace Pro 2 shines is actually some of the usability features. So if you're just looking at this camera setup, the Ace Pro 2 is going to be way smaller than the A7 IV. And there's actually a lot of scenarios where the smaller size and form factor will win. So as you probably know, I'm not an extrovert, so I'm always still a little bit shy. Even though I've been doing YouTube and stuff for a while, I'm still a little bit shy about vlogging in public. And holding a big camera setup like this is still a little bit more intimidating than holding something this small. With the Ace Pro 2, you actually also get a flip out screen, so if you want to do some vlogging, you're still able to see yourself. Now you might be thinking, this is not really that much of a difference, but you also have to remember that right now, you have to think about audio and stabilization as well. So with the Sony, some people would just opt to hold the lens right here, but because right now I have a 17mm, it might not be wide enough for me to hold out here, so I might need to put this on a little tripod. With the Ace Pro 2, because it's a 13mm, I can actually just hold it at arm's length and be able to see myself perfectly. You also have to think about audio, where with the Ace Pro 2, you actually have some built-in wind muffs right here. So the audio out of this is actually going to be pretty good straight out of camera without any external mics. So this is a little comparison with the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 on the top and then the A7 IV on the bottom. Now right now I don't have a mic on either of them, but because the Ace Pro 2 has an internal mic that has a wind muff built in, the audio on it probably sounds a lot better. It is a little bit windy right now, so the A7 IV doesn't sound that good. So if you do want to do some vlogging, you'll probably want to attach an external mic onto the A7 IV. But I think this is where the Ace Pro 2 one-ups the A7 IV because it has an internal mic with a wind muff. So you're gonna get pretty good audio straight out of camera without attaching an external mic. So while the A7 IV is able to record audio without any mics, the audio isn't going to be as good. So to get good audio out of this when vlogging, you would actually need to add a shotgun mic or some sort of lav mic onto it to get better audio. If you're doing something like travel content, the A7 IV might also actually be a bit big. And I actually really like the Ace Pro 2 with the Xplorer Kit. So if you haven't seen this before, but you might also be wondering why it looks kind of cool, this is the Xplorer Kit that Insta360 made in collab with Tilta. So this is actually what the Ace Pro 2 looks like. It just looks like a normal action camera, but you also have this cage system by Tilta. So basically to start off, you can open this cage, you can put the Ace Pro 2 in it, and then you can close the cage. On the side, you have this little handle which lets you actually get a very nice grip on it. It actually feels really nice. You're still able to flip out the handle so that you can access the battery door, and on the other side, you can still access your memory card and USB-C for charging. Now the shutter on top is just a button, which doesn't feel very nice, but I actually really like this setup. So it's basically just a little lever that attaches to the cold shoe of the cage, which goes on top right here. And now when you click it, it actually feels like a camera shutter. And I think this is actually where it takes the usability of this camera up a notch. So like I mentioned, if I was just using the Ace Pro 2 like this and I was just clicking the camera on top and just trying to take photos like this, you can see that it's very small. It actually doesn't feel very nice at all to hold. Even when I'm doing video, it's just a little too small. Especially trying to shoot B-roll, it kind of looks ridiculous just holding a little camera like this. But I think if you add this cage, the usability feels a lot better. Tilta makes some great handles. It's actually most of what I use for my camera rigs. And with this, there's no difference. Tilta has made a grip that's very nice to hold. It feels very comfortable, and it's actually something that I'd want to use. In fact, Tilta, if you're listening, if you're able to make this kind of grip and cage for a mirrorless camera, I definitely want to see that. But again, not just the grip, but even with the lever attached, it gives you a very nice response, very tactile feel to the shutter, and it actually makes it feel like an actual camera. So if I want to take photos, I can just press it here. It actually feels like I'm clicking a shutter instead of just clicking a dinky little button. If I'm doing video, I can hold it this way and start and stop recording with my thumb. And you can see it looks a little less ridiculous. And for a lot of people when they're traveling, a lot of the times they don't even opt to take a camera just because it's a little bit too heavy, so they opt to use their phone instead. But with this, you're able to get 50 megapixel photos, 8K video, and all those Leica color profiles. And this would actually make a great travel setup when you just want something small to be able to document all your moments and you don't need the highest quality possible. This may be good enough for a lot of people. Now, how about stabilization? Since the Ace Pro 2 is an action camera, you're going to get some of the best stabilization out there compared to a mirrorless camera. We all know that mirrorless cameras, because of the sensor size and everything, you're not going to get the best image stabilization, even when you have things like dynamic active stabilization cranked all the way up. And with the Ace Pro 2, you're gonna get really good stabilization. And you can see with these running shots, they don't even really compare with each other. You can tell that the footage from the Ace Pro 2 is a lot more sturdy from the A7 IV. If you want to get smooth footage with this, you're going to end up having to put this on a gimbal or something, which is going to make the size difference even more of a difference than it already is. Now, if we're talking about cost, obviously the price difference is pretty big, but sometimes a cheap camera is better. If I want to mount a camera onto places, it's going to be a lot more sketchy. We recently mounted the A7IV onto my Tesla just to get some rolling shots, and we had to use 2 suction mounts, and we were doing tests before we actually brought it onto the road just to see if it actually stay on. And we were kind of sketched out the whole time. With the Ace Pro 2, it's going to be a lot lighter, so you're able to just use 1 suction cup and just mount it very easily because there's not much weight. And at the very worst case, if something does happen to it, it's only 400 bucks. You can get 5 of these for the price of one A7IV. Now again, with the small size, it does have some benefits. So one thing I've been actually doing recently is using this chest mount. So with the Ace Pro 2, you have this magnetic mount that you can just attach and use as a BTS camera. Now obviously the Ace Pro 2 just takes the win in this. The A7IV is not able to hold something like this. I wish I could. I would love to do POV or BTS shots with a mirrorless camera. The only thing I can do right now is use a huge helmet cam, which I've showed in a couple of videos before, and that's actually how I do my POV shots with the camera. But if you just want something small and light, the Ace Pro 2 is definitely going to win in this regard. Now we all know that Insta360 has a history of making good cameras, especially with the 360 cameras like the X4 and the X5. So we know that their app is actually pretty good, and with this it's no different. You're able to use the app to download all of your files and to share it and export it to people very quickly. I've never really liked the app for the Sony cameras, so I don't even think that's something I'm going to compare. I wouldn't use the Sony app at all to share images with other people. I would always put the memory card into my computer, just edit them and then transfer them to other people. Now again, like I mentioned, for usability, the Ace Pro 2 does have a lot of advantages, but obviously the A7IV is no slouch in that regard either. So with these bigger cameras and bigger lenses, you're going to need a bigger body with more functionality. And that's where the A7IV wins. With HDMI, you're able to attach an external mic very easily. You're able to very quickly change all your settings with your buttons and dials. If you're doing more professional work, obviously this is going to look way more professional than Ace Pro 2, is not even a question. And if you're doing professional work, you're most likely shooting in manual and controlling everything properly yourself. And that's where the A7IV would win, because you're able to change all of your settings very quickly. I think the Ace Pro 2 is more of like a run and gun camera. You just kind of set it up, forget it. You don't have to really touch it too much. And with the A7IV, yes, you do have to change more settings, but that also gives you a lot more customizability and flexibility with like color profiles and settings, proper exposure, proper shutter speed, all of that. So that's where the A7IV will win. And again, with the fact that you're able to change lenses, the Ace Pro 2 is only stuck to 1 focal length. Obviously with the bigger resolution, you're able to crop in a little bit if you need to, but the A7IV is definitely going to win with flexibility, with being able to change your lenses to get the exact shot that you need. And finally, the price point. Like I mentioned before, this is $400, this is $2,000. And with this price difference, you can get 5 of these for the price of one A7IV, or you could even just get this camera, maybe add a bunch of accessories, or even get some other smaller cameras, whatever you want. So the price difference of this is going to be a lot cheaper. Some people might be thinking, why is this even a comparison? These cameras are way too far apart. But I think for some people, if you're already doing professional work, you already know that a mirrorless camera is going to be the right setup for you. But for a lot of people who are just looking to get into their first camera and they just want to take some photos and videos, the most common question I get asked is, what camera can I get for $500? For some reason, $500 just seems to be like a benchmark that a lot of people who are just starting to get in, they don't realize how expensive cameras are and they just want something for cheaper. And for a lot of people, the Ace Pro 2 being at $400 and adding in the Xplorer Kit is still under $500. And for a lot of people, this is going to be enough. Obviously, I'm doing this for a living, so I'm going to need the highest image quality possible, the most flexibility, the color grade, change settings. But you have to remember that a lot of people aren't doing this professionally. They just want to do this as a hobby. And I think for the Ace Pro 2 with this price point and getting this image quality, this is going to be more than good enough for a lot of people. But I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts are. Which one of these cameras would you personally pick? And what are the benefits and cons that you see to using both of these? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more photo video content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.